She had just moved into her new apartment, excited for a fresh start. But when she discovered a hidden door in the wall, curiosity turned to terror. From inside, muffled voices whispered secrets she was never meant to hear, secrets that would change everything she thought she knew about her life. Hello, my friends. I am Olivia, and this is Olivia's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I had never believed in fate. At least, not until the day I stepped into my new apartment, carrying boxes that smelled faintly of cardboard and dreams. It wasn't much. 2 small bedrooms, a cramped kitchen, and a living room that could barely fit my couch, but it was mine. Mine after years of renting cramped, depressing spaces where the walls seemed to close in on me. I craved stability, even if it was modest. From the first day, I tried to make the apartment feel like home. I hung fairy lights over the window, laid down a soft rug by the bed, and even managed to squeeze a small herb garden onto the windowsill. Life was quiet, almost painfully ordinary, and I liked it that way. My days consisted of coffee, spreadsheets at work, and evening walks where I would let the city's hum settle my thoughts. Yet, despite this calm, there was a gnawing emptiness inside me, a silent whisper that maybe, just maybe, I was meant for something more than routines and solitary dinners. It was on the 3rd night, while unpacking a box of old books, that I noticed it. A faint outline in the wall near the corner of the living room, almost perfectly hidden behind the tall bookshelf I had shoved against it. At first, I thought it was just a flaw in the plaster, but as I ran my fingers along the edge, I realized it was a door, a secret door, cleverly disguised. My heart raced, not out of fear, but from a dizzying mix of curiosity and unease. I backed away, feeling the chill that seemed to seep through the walls. Who would have a hidden door in an apartment like this, and why? Questions tumbled through my mind, but there was no turning back. Something inside me demanded that I know. I couldn't leave it there, a mysterious presence I couldn't understand. I fetched a flashlight and pressed my ear against the door, trying to catch even the faintest hint of sound. That's when I heard it. A low, hushed conversation, so soft I had to strain to catch it. Words I didn't fully understand until one name made my blood run cold. Mine. It was my name, spoken with a weight that made my chest tighten. My fingers froze on the doorknob, heart hammering in my ears. I should have walked away. I should have convinced myself it was some mistake, maybe a neighbor's misplaced conversation carried through the walls. But something primal inside me pushed me closer. I pressed my ear again, and then, louder this time, a sentence sliced through the shadows. She has no idea what's behind this wall. The words hit me like ice. My hands trembled as the door creaked open just slightly, enough to reveal a sliver of darkness beyond. And that's when I heard it, a sound that made me stop breathing, a whisper so urgent and terrifying that I couldn't tell if I wanted to run or step inside. It was coming from inside the wall. I froze, my hand still resting on the edge of the hidden door. The darkness beyond seemed to breathe, almost alive, and the whispers continued, soft, urgent, impossible to ignore. My pulse thumped in my ears as I tried to make sense of what I was hearing. Who could be in there, and why were they speaking about me as if I didn't exist? The room felt smaller, the air heavier, as if the walls themselves were pressing in to keep me silent. I took a cautious step closer, the flashlight shaking in my hand. The beam cut through the blackness like a fragile sword, revealing only shadows and the faint outline of the space beyond. My imagination screamed at me. What if it was someone dangerous? What if... Then I heard movement. A soft shuffle, almost like a sigh, followed by the faint scrape of something metallic against wood. My stomach lurched. Whoever or whatever was in there, they weren't expecting me. The words I had heard earlier echoed in my mind. She has no idea what's behind this wall. I forced myself to breathe, to slow the frantic rhythm of my heart. Logic and fear were battling inside me, each vying for control. I knew I couldn't stay frozen forever. The curiosity that had led me here was a wildfire I couldn't put out, no matter how terrified I felt. Slowly, I pushed the door open further, just enough to peek inside. The space revealed itself to be a small, hidden room, barely large enough to stand in. Dust hung in the air, thick and musty, carrying the scent of old paper and wood. And then I saw it, a chair, facing a wall, occupied by someone I could barely make out. My breath caught as I realized I wasn't imagining it. The figure was real, hunched and trembling, whispering into what looked like a tape recorder. My name rolled off their lips again, this time with desperation. Olivia, you need to know. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I was rooted to the spot. My curiosity had become a tether, pulling me closer to the truth I wasn't ready to face. I stepped into the room, the wooden floor groaning under my weight, and the figure froze. Then the voice, soft, familiar, and impossible to place, turned toward me, and I recognized it immediately. It was him. The man I had only seen once in passing, the one who had haunted my thoughts since moving into the building. He wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to know me. Yet here he was, hidden behind the wall, whispering my name like a secret prayer. His eyes widened, a mixture of fear, guilt, and something far more complex that made my stomach twist. "Olivia," he breathed, his voice trembling as if the very act of speaking it might shatter him. "You're not supposed to be here. You can't hear this." I stepped closer, every nerve screaming, yet every part of me drawn in. My need for understanding, for answers, had consumed my fear. And then I realized something horrifying. The secrets in this hidden room weren't just his. They were mine too, intertwined with my life in ways I could never have imagined. The whispering stopped. Silence descended like a heavy curtain, broken only by our shallow breaths. And then, with a sudden, almost imperceptible movement, he did something that made my blood run cold. He reached into the shadows and his hand emerged from the shadows, clutching something small and metallic. My eyes widened as I realized it was a key, but not just any key. It was old, heavy, and engraved with initials that made my heart skip a beat. "This," he whispered, his voice barely audible, "this opens everything you need to know." I wanted to speak, to demand an explanation, but the words stuck in my throat. The air felt charged, electric, as if the room itself was holding its breath. I took a cautious step closer, the beam of my flashlight illuminating his face fully for the first time. And there it was, the raw vulnerability, the haunted guilt, the intensity in his eyes that made me question everything I thought I knew about him, about myself. "I never meant for you to find this," he said, finally breaking the silence. His hands trembled as he held the key out to me, almost as if offering it was an act of surrender. "I've been hiding it, hiding everything, and yet somehow you're here." I swallowed hard, trying to process the words, the fear, the tension that had wound me tight. Who are you?" My voice cracked, despite my attempt to sound steady. "What is all of this?" He shook his head slowly. "I can't tell you everything yet. not here, not like this. But you deserve to know the truth. The things behind this wall, they're not just secrets of mine. They're connected to you." My heart pounded. Connected to me? How could that be possible? I had moved into this apartment to escape the past, to have a life that wasn't haunted by regrets, by people I didn't trust anymore. And now, standing in a hidden room, staring at a man who had been part of my life in ways I never realized, I felt the fragile safety of my ordinary world shatter. He hesitated, glancing nervously toward the corner of the room where shadows seemed to shift. Then he leaned in, voice dropping to a near whisper. "If you take this key, you'll open doors you might not be ready for, but it's the only way you'll understand why all of this has been hidden, why I've been hiding from you." I felt a chill crawl down my spine. My curiosity warred with my fear. Everything in me wanted to pull away, to close the door and pretend none of this had happened. But another part, the part of me that had always craved answers, that had always needed to understand the people and the world around me, urged me forward. I reached out, my hand trembling, and took the key from him. The instant my fingers touched the cold metal, a shiver ran through me, as if electricity had jumped from the key into my veins. I glanced at him, searching his eyes for reassurance, but all I saw was the weight of years, of secrets, of pain. I need to know," I whispered. He nodded, slowly, almost solemnly, and gestured toward a second, smaller door at the back of the hidden room. Unlike the first, this one looked older, worn, and somehow sacred, as if it had never been touched by ordinary hands. Then, "This is the door. But once you open it, there's no turning back. You have to be ready, Olivia." My breath caught. The key felt impossibly heavy in my hand, like it carried the weight of every untold story, every hidden truth. My pulse thundered in my ears as I moved closer. I could hear his ragged breathing beside me, could feel the tension in his every muscle. And then, with a trembling hand, I inserted the key into the lock. The door clicked, and the faint creak as it began to open was the last sound of my ordinary life. The door swung open with a long, mournful groan, revealing a room bathed in a dim, golden light that seemed almost otherworldly. My breath caught in my throat. Shelves lined the walls, stacked with old journals, photographs, and letters, all carefully preserved. The scent of aged paper and something faintly floral hung in the air, heavy with history. He stepped back, allowing me to enter fully. "Everything you're about to see, it's why I've hidden this," he said, his voice trembling. "It's why I couldn't let anyone, especially you, know the truth too soon." I moved slowly, almost reverently through the room. My eyes fell on a photograph that made me freeze. It was a picture of my family, my parents, me as a child, but in the corner, partially hidden, was a younger version of him. My chest tightened as I realized he had been part of my life long before I ever knew it. I don't understand," I whispered, my fingers brushing a journal's spine. "Why is all this here? Why me?" He stepped closer, his expression softening. "Because, Olivia, you're the reason I kept it. I've spent years hiding from my past, from the mistakes I made. And when I moved into this building, I had no idea you'd follow the same path, that our lives would collide again. The things in this room, they're my history, yes, but they're also proof of my regret. And maybe, just maybe, they're proof of a second chance." Tears blurred my vision. My ordinary life, The one I had built carefully with routines and quiet evenings suddenly seemed fragile and unreal. All the years I had wished for answers, for meaning, for someone to understand me, they had led me here, to this hidden room, to him. He reached out and took my hand gently. Olivia, I don't expect you to forgive me yet, if ever, but I need you to know the truth, all of it. I needed someone to see me, not just the secrets, but me. And that someone is you. I could feel the weight of his confession pressing into my chest, heavy but strangely comforting. The fear that had gripped me when I first discovered the door was still there, but now it mingled with something else, hope. The hope that perhaps, in unraveling the past, we could find a future neither of us had imagined. I swallowed hard, tears spilling down my cheeks. I don't know if I can understand it all. Not yet, I admitted. But I do know that I want to try. A small, almost imperceptible smile crossed his face. That's all I could ever ask for. We stood there for a long moment, hands intertwined, surrounded by the secrets and confessions of a life that had been hidden away for too long. And as the golden light bathed us in warmth, I realized something profound. Sometimes, the doors we fear the most lead to the truths we need the most. The apartment, the hidden room, the whispers, they had shattered my ordinary world. But in the wreckage, they had also given me something extraordinary, the chance to connect, to understand, to forgive, and maybe, just maybe, to love. And for the first time in a long time, I felt truly, undeniably home.